On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, FN shuts down the high power. The U.S. Army is having problems with the M17. A crazy goose hunting accident, and Indian motorcycles is crushing Harley Davidson. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Marky and Freeze, and this is episode 85 of the John1911 Podcast. How's it going, Freeze?
Not too bad. Been sick.
Yeah, you sound a little sick.
Yeah.
So, we were just sitting here talking. I just fired up the computer to look at the news, and there's a photograph of a Tesla Roadster in space. And I'm like, what the hell am I even looking at here? And, you know, I told you, so I guess it's, if you litter on the planet Earth, you're a son of a bitch. But if you litter in space, you said it was for science.
It's for science.
Yeah, you know, it's turned space into a giant junkyard. Yeah, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, you know, it's a first.
Yeah, it's a first. So, guess before we get too deep into this, I want to. Is there anything we wanted to any old business we need to still cover, or things you want to bring up, or before I jump into some of this? I feel like we're kind of like, I don't know, kind of starting kind of truncated this morning, but I'm trying the best I can. So.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
I
don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about your rifle thing. So, what's going on with your? Because we put a post on John1911 about it, and people keep asking me questions. I don't know what the hell to tell them because I don't know anything about this stuff.
On what?
Because I put the upper from the AR-15 pistol upper. I posted it on the blog. The photographs of whatever that thing. What is that upper?
What do you mean? You mean who makes it?
Yeah, what is it? Who makes it? What is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's not marked. It was put together by B King Firearms out of Northern Ohio.
Well, that's what I put. Said who made it was B King. So,
I don't know who made the upper receiver. None of them are really marked. I mean, you have to know like forge codes and all that kind of crap, to search it. I've not really taken the handguard off to look at the barrel markings to find out who made the barrel. Don't really care.
Okay.
You know, the only thing I know is the handguard is made by Parallax Tactical, and the flash can that's on it's a CAC flash can. So those are the only two manufacturers that I know as far on the upper.
See, that's the difference. See, you don't even realize this. You've already gone into the deep dive as an AR-15 builder kind of douchebag, because you're like, well, you got to look at the codes and this and whatever. And consumers like me, we're just like, who the fuck did you buy it from? To us, that's who made it. But to the,
Well, I'm assuming B King Firearms assembled it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
well, I know, but like you're saying, like, well, who made the upper receiver, who made the barrel? To me, to us in the real world, we would just say it's B King Firearms. But
yeah.
I will say this because I've been trying. We're kind of talking. It's you and me, and people listening to this. I don't know anything about these AR pistol. These brace pistol guns. I've never paid attention to them, but yeah. I will say this: you've got this device on this upper, and it looks really. I have to admit, it looks cool as hell. It's called it's a KAK, or is it CAC?
Yeah, I've heard people pronounce it CAC Industries or KAK Industries. I've seen people refer to it both ways.
It looks like a suppressor. I mean, it looks like a little mini suppressor on this thing.
Yeah, it does, because it's a 10.5-inch barrel, and the handguard is 11.5-inch handguard. So when this, the flash can is, I don't know, 2.5 inches, something like that.
I would say at least 2.5.
Maybe 3. So, so when you screw it onto the barrel, you have just the end of the can sticking out past the flash guard. And it does actually kind of look like a suppressor. But what it is instead of having a, like a standard bird cage on the end of the barrel, this basically it's a can, and it throws everything forward. It throws all the gases, any powder, all the blast, the flame, everything goes forward. And well, basically, with a short barrel like that in your hand, it keeps everything off you.
Yeah, that's part of that's why I'm intrigued by this item, and I'm sure that all the AR, dorks, they know this thing's probably been out for 10 years. I have no idea. But part of the reason why I never paid attention to these AR pistols is that just the truth is, I mean, the blast of these things, it's just not worth it. Like, I remember when some really short AR, like, I think I remember the very first AR pistol that actually hit the market, and it was probably every bit of 15 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
And it didn't catch on, but it was out there, and I was looking at one in a gun store, and I was like, this is kind of neat and handy. This is interesting. And there was an old guy in there, and he had bought one. And I thought it was interesting because, he didn't really buy. He had a lot of money, but he's not like a guy that buys all the latest tactical stuff. And they were like, well, I don't want to say his name, but, he has one. And he looked at me, and he goes, Marky, it's loud. And I'm like, I expect it to be loud. He goes, no, it's loud. I was like, oh, so he's like, basically, he was basically telling me I wasted my money. He was like, I bought one. I don't know what the hell I'm going to goddamn do with it. So here's the point. This CAC device, I looked it up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously you can't do anything about the noise, but what I saw on YouTube, the difference in the flash, I was impressed with this CAC device. At least the one example that I saw that could have been, CGI or who knows what. This, I was like, well, that's interesting. It looked like it got rid of about 80, 85, maybe 90% of the blast, of the flash.
Well,
at least visible in daylight.
Yeah, I mean, there's several videos on there of guys doing comparisons with, using this device and using other different muzzle devices, and showing the difference. I mean, they're all over YouTube. And, it throws a lot of the sound forward. It throws the flash forward. The device itself seems like it works well for what it's intended. I mean, would you want to run this on a 16 or, an 18 or a 20-inch barrel? I don't really see why you would even want to, but, I mean, you could. But, I mean, it's really designed for the short barrel to keep basically everything away from the shooter.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was, you're kind of playing with this as a truck gun project, and, it makes it manageable. I mean, I think I've never fired. I mean, it still may be. I mean, for all I know, dude, firing this thing could be like firing a Barrett M82 or being around a Barrett. And again, it's like Barretts are kind of like Desert Eagles. Everybody on the internet knows what it is, and they all have opinions on them, and very, very, very few of those people have ever actually run one.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
And it's just like, I mean, and then again, some people are more sensitive to stuff than others. But, I mean, I even had like a guy, he was shooting one over me, cause he was doing some stuff, and he was like, hey, get down. I'm like, all right. So it's like, oh God. So anyway, this CAC device, I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting content. Two, I think a lot of our younger our younger readers and listeners and I guess video watchers will be interested in this. But, you know, I don't know, who knows? Maybe it'll open up shorties for me.
Well, look, I mean, I've been kicking around a pistol build for probably about a year now, maybe a little longer. I mean, look, AR, you know, whatever. AR is an AR, you know. I mean, we have several of them in the armory we can play with and use whenever we want. But I was looking for, like, maybe a new truck gun project. Plus, you know, I kind of like the whole pistol thing, especially now that the ATF is allowing you to shoulder your brace.
Yeah.
You know, and that was really, I guess, the deciding factor of doing a pistol build. And so I've been looking at different components and parts and, you know, and what kind of a lower do I want to use? What kind of a brace do I want to use? You know, what kind of an upper barrel length, you know, muzzle device. I've been just kind of kicking around all of this, you know, kind of what do I want? You know, what kind of a lower parts kit, you know, do I want to go on the low end on the price? Do I want to go high? You know, I've just been kicking around, you know, looking at different stuff and seeing, you know, what's good, what's bad, what people are shitting on, what people are, you know, raving about. And it was, I don't know, Friday or Saturday night. And I was cruising around the internet and I came across, you know, the website, and they had this upper on sale, and it's like, well, crap. I mean, you know, I mean, as far as the handguard goes, I don't give a crap if it's, you know, quad rail, key mod, M-lock. Actually, this is it's a quad rail with an M-lock hybrid, you know, and I didn't really care what the handguard was, but it's like, wow, 10.5-inch barrel. It's got the flash can on the end. This is the exact configuration of the upper that I was looking for. Doesn't have a bolt carrier group or a charging handle. That I didn't care about, but the price was just amazing. And it was like, you know what? It's like I wasn't really ready to, you know, buy it at this point, but it's like, man, I don't know, man. I'm going to regret not jumping on this at this price. You know, because I was thinking, well, you know, do I build it myself? Do I buy the barrel and all that stuff? And it's like, man, this is already complete. It's already set up. It's like, yeah, I got to go for it. So anyway, I just jumped into the project really before I wanted to, but you know, the price was too good to pass up.
Well, you know, and what I'm watching this project closely because this CAC device, if it is and I have to do some research. For all I know, there's, you know, oh, you don't know about the riboflavin 47. That's like the greatest muzzle device ever. But, you know, I've debated cutting back the SCAR, the SCAR rifle, the 16. And, you know, it's a balance between it being a little long and front end heavy. It's not like it's a heavy gun or, you know, or dealing with, say, blast. And I want, you know, I don't know if I would SBR it. I might. But even if I did SBR the gun, which I might, I wonder how this CAC device would work on that. If I ran that SCAR really short, like let's say I instead of even chopping it, I just got the factory barrel with the gas, the gas block and all the stuff in it and the piston.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I don't know, got a 10-inch or maybe a 12-inch and screwed on this CAC device. I'm curious what that would be like.
Well, we get this project put together. You can run it and see what you feel. And, you know, and here's the thing. I mean, we can run it with this device and we can always just, pull it off and throw a regular bird cage or something on there and run, and look at the difference ourselves.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just, it kind of is giving me an opportunity to play with some of these kind of like cutting edge, cool kid AR-15s things. Because I don't swim in that edge of the pool. I just don't. It's not my scene. I like to shoot. I'm not big on tinkering. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that CAC thing, I was like, that's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, hey, do you know I have a new scam? I know how no one makes any money in the gun business, but legally, do you know how to? There's now a new path to glory in the gun business. You know what it is?
What's that?
Buy up all the FN high powers you can find.
Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of the high power anyway, so. But, okay, but why? Why is buying up all the FN high powers a path to glory?
Because apparently Browning, which is really FN, has announced that they are shutting down high power production. Officially.
Yeah, that's fine, but I don't know if that's a path to glory. I mean, there's millions of high powers floating around out
I know,
there.
But you know what's going to happen, though? As soon as you get on Gunbroker, it's going to be no longer made. Everyone's going to be no longer made, and the prices are going to go up. That's true.
I don't know, man. I mean,
a real FN high power no longer made.
I don't know if that's going to really affect the price that much. I mean, man, there's just too many of them out there on the market.
Dude, we've talked about the 1911 guys who buy whatever brand of gun, and as soon as the brand goes from, say, like a 3-digit to a 4-digit or 4-digit to 5-digit serial number, all of a sudden, magically, the lower digit numbers become better made and more valuable. Once they hit 10,000, the quality went down. So I got an 8941. Dude, you used to work goddamn gun shows. You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know, but I just.
I know. I just saw that, and honestly, I've passed on high powers for years. I always said I should get one. But
look, I love high powers. Man, they're real. They're fun to shoot. They're good guns. They're solid. I think everyone should own one high power. I don't kneel at the altar of high power. I wouldn't run it in competition, although God knows many, many, many guys have over the years. But if you just want a good, solid, fun shooting gun, a high power, man, is a great gun. Buy yourself an old beater on the cheap and play with it.
My old boss, who he doesn't drive a truck because he retired, he went and got himself a sports car. So he, always wanted to have a gun in his truck. He doesn't drive a truck anymore, so he's got this little itty bitty 2-seater sports car. So
a penis car.
Yeah. So what he did, a penis car. So that's a jab at me.
Yeah, it is.
For all the cars I've had. So what he did is he looked around his gun collection and found that old high power he was sitting on that he just never used, and so he took the high power and a pile of magazines and he put it in the center console of his car, and so that's his, if he needs his truck gun, oh my god, I need more firepower, and he makes it to his car, he's got a high power, and I don't know how many magazines he's got, but I think it's probably 5 or 8. He's got a pack of them. He's ready to hold off the hordes, and that's what I think of whenever I think of the high power. It's he doesn't shoot it, he owns it, it's just sitting there. It's he doesn't like to lose any guns, but it's not really a mainline gun. So in theory, if something happened to it.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, the gun can sit in your console for a year without you oiling it, cleaning it, touching it. It can be, 50 degrees below zero or 120 degrees outside, and the damn thing's going to run. I mean, they're
maybe. I mean,
no,
yeah.
I'm serious. They're solid. They're solid guns. They run. They're not that picky.
You know what? The truth is, I don't have enough experience with them to honestly know. I would assume that they are similar to a 1911 as far as their like 1911s generally won't run dry for very long. They'll run dirty, but they won't run dirty and dry. I assume that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I have to I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe they're the Glock of the 30s. I guess in a way they were, actually. They were the first, Wonder 9.
Actually, they kind of were the Glock of the 30s, to be honest with you.
Didn't the original High Power have a 13-round, or was it a 13 or 14-round magazine? I think it's changed. But I think it was, originally 13, but maybe with technology they bumped it 1 or 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I have no clue.
But compared to, a Luger or a 1911...
Oh yeah,
or all of those Polish guns. That's a lot of bullets. Most of those Polish guns, anyway. So I just thought that was an interesting story. So you know what it is. What I hold, why we don't have a High Power is I hold out to get one with a stock.
You're not going to get one with a stock.
I see them all the time. I just don't want to pay the prices.
Exactly. You're not going to get one with the stock.
It's just a High Power. I don't want to pay that kind of money for, it's like, yeah, what am I going to, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, as far as reference guns in the collection, rifles are serve that purpose much better, but a High Power is, if you can run a 1911, you can run a High Power. I mean, if you've never seen a High Power in your life, but you can run a 1911, you pick up a High Power, there's no way you're not going to be able to figure out that gun. Even in an emergency.
I mean, the High Powers, it's, you can, they're pretty interchangeable. I mean, obviously there is a difference, but I mean, they're close enough to where you'd have no trouble with it. And I mean, they're a pretty forgiving gun too. They're just, they're solid guns. I like the High Power. Big fan.
I can't remember what it was, because I was running 1911s. This was years ago. It was a primary. And it's like, well, maybe I'll check out the High Power for High Power, for more firepower. And I remember going to a store, and it was an FN High Power. Yeah. And I don't think it had the magazine disconnect. I think that was something they were telling me. I can't remember if it did or didn't, or he said you could deactivate it or whatever it was. But I remember doing something with that gun, just immediately trying to kind of operate at the counter, and it just cut my hand. And I was just like, fuck this. I mean, I literally... I walked in there going, yeah, that's probably going to be great. If I have to go 9mm and I got to go high capacity, I'll just go basically the 9mm version of the 1911. And that was the theory, and I was all sold on it. And I was at the counter, and I literally, within 5 seconds, was like, nope. And there's only one other gun that I ever actually, it's the same situation that I ever actually had that experience, and it was the gun Larry Vickers had H&K make, the pistol. Was it the was it called the HK-45 maybe?
I don't know.
Not the big one. It was it was like a 45 compact, or it was, like a 10-round gun, and it wasn't real big, and it was going to have all the same manual of arms. And I remember this gun. I picked this. I was like, I'll just get one of these. This will be great. And, next time I see Larry, I'll even be like, hey, look. And I remember I pulled this gun out of the case, and I was like, nope. I mean, it was within seconds. I'm like, nope. The only thing I remember explicitly was how top heavy it was. And it really turned me off. I was like, whoa, this gun is crazy top heavy. And it was just like, this sucks. I was like, no, that's not going to work. So, all right. What is the worst thing that has ever happened to you or any of your party during hunting season? I'm just curious.
Actually, one of the guys we used to hunt with, oh God, this is going back, I don't know, man, this is going back a long, maybe 25 years more. He was out there hunting, and this was, before everyone had cell phones and crap like that. And he went to climb up, and this was also in the days when you made homemade deer stands in trees. I mean, you didn't have all there were store-bought deer stands, but they were expensive and no one had any money, so everyone basically made their own. And he was climbing up into a stand. It wasn't his primary stand. It was a stand. He just it was like a backup stand. It wasn't a great hunting stand, but if hunting was, if you weren't seeing any action, this was a decent backup. And he, was climbing up in it, and the steps on the stand were basically just, pieces of 2x4, nailed into a tree the way you'd make a tree house. And he was about 2 feet off the ground, and one of the steps pulled loose. It was rotten. And, well, he went to fall. Well, he pushed himself back off the tree, but when he landed, his foot landed on a tree root, and he snapped his ankle.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the worst thing.
See, you know what? But you make a good point about the cell phones, because, see, I think a lot of kids today don't even understand that. Like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, there didn't used to be the internet. There didn't used to be, I mean, forget all of that stuff. There was a time when you, quote, left your house and you went out somewhere, your ass was gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you might as well have been in Nepal. And the thing is, today, everybody's so connected.
Yeah.
You can be, you're out on the farm and you're 6 miles from the farmhouse. You're in a different world if you don't have a phone. 6 miles is a long way.
Well, he had a broken ankle, and he crawled out of the woods, and you'd have to know the layout of the land, but he crawled quite a distance, and then one of the neighbors, he was near a property line, was out and about, and he started yelling, and neighbor came over. But after that incident, we all started carrying coaches' whistles with us, and it was like, you only blow the whistle in case don't blow the whistle if you need help dragging a deer. You blow the whistle if you're hurt.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when, cell phones came about, that all changed, Now you're in your deer stand, texting each other. See anything?
Yeah, dude, we're all texting each other, sending pictures and, sending memes, exactly. Motherfucker. So, have you...
Look what I shot, bitch,
Oh, dude, I'll tell you, I don't know. I was in such shock. I should have gotten a photograph of it. I was out near the farm, Mitchell's Range, and
yeah,
I thought I saw an albino deer, and I'm watching it, and I'm just waiting for it to get closer. It was a doe, and it was I was closer and closer, and it was one of those giant. What's the dog that they used to have the cartoon, like it would have a big old thing of liquor under its neck.
Like a Saint Bernard?
Oh, my God, this dog, it was a giant white, I think it was a Saint Bernard. And, getting closer and closer, and I'm like, I could see it through the scrub in the bush. I'm like, it's white. I'm like, that's probably a cow. And it's getting a little bit closer, and I'm like, man, that's a little cow. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, I think that's a deer. And then I'm like, dude, I think that's a doe. And it gets closer and closer, and I'm finally able to identify it, and it's a goddamn dog. And I remember going back to deer camp, talking to the guy that owns it. I told him this crazy story. He's like, oh, yeah, we've seen that dog. we've seen it on trail cams or something. I'm like, okay, I didn't tell me that. I almost shot your neighbor's dog. Been out there with a shovel, like, no, man, I ain't seen no dog. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You're going to be that guy.
I may have had to skin it and put the pelt up on the wall and call it like a Nepalese mountain sheep or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, I got that in Nepal. Yeah, it looks like a dog. Nah, it's a Nepalese mountain sheep. So anyway, where is this? I saw this and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is coming out. The news story is coming out of East Maryland. So this is the Baltimore media market that's reporting it. So guys are out on a let me see here, a goose hunt. So
okay,
and you guess you need some perspective if you're not a goose hunter. Like I'm not a goose hunter. The average goose weighs anywhere from 10 to 14 pounds. It's like, okay, so these guys, they're out waterfowl hunting, and goose flies over, and they shoot the goose, and the goose falls out of the sky and lands on the guy's head.
Oh, really?
Oh, he had to be life flighted. They had to carry him to an LZ and life flight his ass to the hospital. He was in bad shape. He's still in trauma. He's in. They're calling it shock trauma. The officials say Melhammer was lucky he wasn't hunting alone, and it was carried to the road by fellow hunters and eventually flown to shock trauma in Baltimore.
Nice.
Severe head and neck injuries.
Wow. I mean, you know what, though? I mean, weird shit like that happens when you're hunting, though. Let me tell you a story. This was, God, I don't know how many years ago, but I was out there deer hunting, and it just was lousy hunting. Nothing was moving. Nothing was going on. So I was just out roaming the woods, and the hillside overlooking the bottoms where the box stand is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, well, I was on that hillside, not where the box is. It was down further. But, it's pretty thick through there, and I was down there, and there was just like a little sinkhole in the hillside. And I thought, you know what, this is a good spot to sit down and overlook the bottoms. And so I'm literally sitting on the ground. I have my shotgun next to me, and I've got my binoculars out, and I'm glassing the bottoms. And I hear behind me, crashing through the trees and leaves. I knew a couple deer, someone had jumped some deer, and they were hauling ass, and they were running because, I could hear them crashing through. So off to my left, a doe comes down, and she's maybe 30, 40 feet away from me, and she just tears down through the bottoms, and she's hauling ass. Well, following her is another one, and this is about maybe 10, 15 feet to my left. Again, coming down the hill, hauling ass. They're just busting ass. Well, there's more crashing behind me, and literally the third one comes down, and she jumps so close to me, the wind knocked my hat off. If she would have been 6 inches to the right, she'd have kicked my brains out.
Damn.
It was literally, it was an oh shit moment. I mean, and she had no idea I was there. She was just crashing down through the woods. But I mean, she literally was 6 inches from, kicking my brains out. My hat actually flew off my head.
Damn.
And it was like, holy crap.
It was like the brown bullet train came through, huh?
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, weird things happen when you're hunting,
Yeah. Do you remember the missile alert in in Hawaii?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the rest of what was going on with that? So obviously it wasn't real. Like, they never knew, Korea didn't nuke Hawaii and the Japanese didn't come back for a second try at it. So it was obviously a drill. Well, it turns out that the guy, the civil service, defense, whatever they're called out there, they were running a drill and to practice, for a missile attack. And they have a guy that works there. And on previous occasions, when they've, quote, run drills, he has mistaken drills as being real. Like, he's done this multiple times. Except this time, he actually tripped the alert. And he was like 100% sure it was real. And they say he froze, and he didn't even, like they couldn't even, talk him. They, he got tunnel vision, like he just lost control. But they've seen this before and didn't fire the guy or laterally promote him. And then apparently the governor of Hawaii, like they were saying, you need to get on your Twitter account and tell everybody, you need to send out a press release that this isn't real. And he was like, I don't know the password to my Twitter account.
Oh, get out of here.
No, seriously. So it's like, I hate to say it like this. It was a bad time. It was obviously a bad time for everybody, but it's certainly actually in the end, it'll probably end up being a blessing in disguise, especially if, it ever actually happens for real, because they are so screwed up. The thing is, like today, dude, when you and I were kids, man, we used to always practice for these bomb attacks.
Oh yeah,
and
Cold War, and all that stuff.
Like,
man. Heck yeah.
There would be. We kind of had plans to which way we would go.
Oh man,
where's the nearest military base? Don't head that way. Prevailing winds, radiation clouds.
No, dude, we used to have drills in school where you would go down to the air raid shelter.
Yeah, or like they used to take us into the hallways to get us away from the windows and stuff.
It's like we had I don't even know what it was. It was just like a sub-basement area in our school. It had a bunch of civil defense water barrels and crap like that stored down there.
Okay. Yeah, they used to, they still, I think they still, like a lot of places, department stores and larger buildings, you would see those fallout shelter signs, the yellow signs with the black and yellow triangles in them. And they would pre-position food and water and some other supplies in the cellars of all, this building's rated to be able to take an indirect, this building shouldn't collapse as long as the bomb doesn't land within 5 miles of this building.
Yeah, and all that's bullshit, of course.
Well, the thing. See, here's the thing. See, a lot of people. I'm gonna geek out a little bit here. This is where you're getting into something called CEP, circular error probability, and what a lot of people don't understand is the Russians were never that accurate. They've gotten better probably since the Cold War ended, and towards the end of the Cold War they got better. But even into say, well into the 60s. If the Russians fired a missile, a single warhead at a base, they could miss that base by 5 to 10 miles. 10 miles would be on the outside, more like 5 miles. But if it's not a huge nuclear bomb, that's why the Russians start building all these huge bombs. Because they couldn't be as accurate.
A lot of people don't realize that, during Desert Storm, all those Scud missiles the Iraqis were shooting were basically the missiles that the Soviets had during the 50s and 60s. And you saw how accurate they were.
Yeah, the Scud is NATO designates it the Frog, free rocket over ground, and they actually see, and here's the thing, a lot of people even today don't realize this. Most of the Scud missiles that we, quote, shot down during the Gulf War, we actually broke up in air. We didn't shoot really any of them down, that many. The Scud is the most prolific ballistic missile ever made. They're still making Scuds the Scud is actually a V2 rocket. Is it a V2? Yeah, the V. Which one's the buzz bomb the Nazis made? Is the B? Is which the Nazis had a ballistic missile, then they had their buzz bomb. Which one was the ballistic missile? Was that the V2? Which one was? Yeah, and the V1 was the one they called the buzz bomb.
The V1 was the buzz bomb. It was
like the
basically
airplane.
just a
yeah.
Yeah.
So the V2, literally the V2 is a Scud missile. It's the missile the Nazis made. And they're still making their Scud A, B, C, D. There's a Scud ER. Like, what the hell is it? The North Korea's got a Scud that they've modified. They've changed. The entire airframe of it's been made out of was it aluminum or titanium? So basically, it drops the weight, and then. Was it the Iranians that did this too? So the Iranians get a lot of their technology from North Korea. So I think North Korea made the lightweight airframe, and then maybe it was the Iranians. They ended up smuggling in some kind of technology out of like Norway or something. This was just in the past couple of years that they were now are making. They were able to take the North Korean Scud with the lightweight frame, and they're now putting, I think it's carbon fiber skin on it, because they were able to get the technology to do the carbon fiber skin out of some country in the EU. I think it was like Norway. You know, I mean, those missiles are still around. So, but, you know, I don't even know what the hell we were talking about. So, but, yeah, just, you know, it was just interesting. So I heard about that, and, you know, it is what it was. So, so you still want a SIG P320, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing with one.
Did you hear what's going on with it?
I don't know. It depends on what you're talking about. I hear all kinds of shit. Apparently,
there's a lot of news stories going around saying that they're calling it the MH17. I guess it won't function with regular ball ammo that they have on stock, and apparently it's ejecting live rounds. And I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know if they're saying that like when they fire it under recoil, it ejects an empty shell, and then like another round is overriding the feed lifts and popping out of the gun. But they keep talking about this gun's ejecting live rounds. They're apparently having some issues with these guns. And they're going to get them worked out, I guess. They're going to have no choice.
Sure.
But, you know, it's got everybody out. You know, all the long knives are out now saying it should be Glock and, you know, all that kind of
whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, that's just like the Democrats saying that we're going to impeach Trump and Hillary's going to be president. Yeah, you know what? Glock's gone. They're out. Maybe they'll get it next contract, but they're gone. They're not going to trash the 320 and say, "Oh, Glock's back in." They're out. They're gone. Get over it.
I mean, you know, I'm gonna really kick some people in the balls here. So, because this is where like our gun community is real hypocritical. They don't even realize how exposed they are on these kinds of conversations. The same people that are talking about you got to dump the MH17 or the 320 or whatever the hell they call this gun now. You know, it's terrible. Are the same people that say the 1911 is the greatest gun ever made, because, you know, the Army never had problems with the 1911. That's why they didn't change it 100 fucking times. And, you know, the M14 is the greatest, you know, is the greatest battle rifle, you know, and you know, and all that bullshit. And then, and let, you know, today's M4, you know, and all the drama they went through with the M16 in the 60s. I mean, the Army doesn't give up on guns. It's the only gun they've ever given up on is the M14.
Yeah, well, and there's solid reasons why, too.
Oh, the M14 is a goddamn fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, I mean, think about this. The Russians came out with the AK-47 in 1947. We fielded the M14, I think, for 3 years in the 50s. And it's just, I mean, like, it's light years. I mean, talk about That's a terrible matchup. You know, I mean, the M14. I'll tell you, what's really funny is because you'll see a lot of these. Springfield Armory does this. Springfield Armory will run a commercial. They'll run ads showing it'll be line art. It'll be a picture of an M14 GI spec, and a guy will be behind the gun shooting it with a watch cap on. And it's inferring that it's a Marine because it's a watch cap. And what nobody ever wants to conveniently remember was the Marine Corps hated the goddamn M14. The Marine Corps, because the Marine Corps especially is real big on accurizing guns. You know, every Marine a rifleman, right? And what ends up happening is that when they got a hold of the M14 and they were trying to shoot them for accuracy and tighten them up and make them into sniper rifles or shoot them at competition and do all, these guns were constantly going down. They were shooting themselves apart, shooting themselves loose. The Marine Corps was probably the first department in the defense, the first, unit in defense department to be like, this gun's a fucking wreck. And to this day, you'll still see people talking about in the Marine Corps and the M14, and the Marine Corps hated the fucking M14. I mean, you'll find an individual soldier that may have liked it because he touched one for 5 minutes. But, I mean, the M14, especially in the Marine Corps, was not a positive experience at all. Not at all. But Springfield Armory still runs those ads. You see it all the time. Yeah. And kids today think that's the way it is. And it's just like, no, that's not true. So, All right. Anything else going on or anything we're talking about?
Not really. Okay. I mean, there's always stuff to talk about. But I mean, I don't really.
You don't want to talk about the teen charge?
Really interesting.
You don't want to talk about the teen charge with having sex with horses in Alabama?
See, I didn't even hear about that. So, I mean, I understand it's Alabama and all, but
yeah, I know that's what hurts it because it's in Alabama. It's like, oh man,
yeah,
really?
I know. It's like Alabama needs this hanging over their freaking head.
I know.
But why? I mean, why? Why? Why would you do that?
Well, it's really weird because, the people that own a horse were like, yeah, we kept seeing things and, someone was getting into the stalls and we're not going to go into details, but we were seeing things. And eventually one time, I guess the dog started barking. So they went out there and caught this guy and held him at gunpoint until the cops came. And, his defense was, I just like to pet the horses. And he had a trench coat, and I think they maybe even found like lube, and so they're saying he probably assaulted his horse at least 10 times. Like this horse was his girlfriend. So.
Oh man,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. Oh, hey, do you remember when we talked about Harley and how again, I'm gonna get some blowback on this. We had a big I don't think it was on pod. We had a big conversation about how one of the problems Harley has as a business is that their brand comes with a lot of baggage now because it's so embedded in certain cultures that a lot of people don't want to be a part of. Do you kind of remember that conversation? Mm-hmm. We don't want to get into well, apparently, this came out this week. I wanted to tell you about it. So, I guess the motorcycle industry as a whole is on the decline. Sales, I guess they're not bringing in new riders and are not bringing in, it just doesn't seem to be working. A lot of the younger generation, they're not even buying cars, I guess. That kind of maybe hurt them too. I don't know. So they're down. Like Harley just closed a plant in Kansas. And they're going to laid off a bunch of people and give some people the option to move to another plant, maybe in Pennsylvania. And all these other companies are down. Apparently, Polaris owns Indian, and obviously they own Polaris. Well, Polaris, they're selling. Are they the one? they make that 3-wheeled motorcycle.
Yeah, what the heck's that thing called?
I can't remember, but I used to see them all the time. I haven't really seen any this year.
Spider, maybe? Spider?
Is it? That's close. Is it Spike, Spicer, Spike?
Yeah,
maybe it's Spider.
But I know what you're talking about. So, it's got the 2 wheels in the front and the one in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They apparently make that, and they own Indian. I guess what happened was they created Indian, and then they had the Victory line. I thought the Victory bikes were interesting. I was like, oh yeah, another American-made company. That's kind of interesting. Well, apparently what happened was they looked at the sales numbers, and they decided in 2017 to fold Victory. Victory's gone. They decided to cut that brand loose. They just chose to, they didn't crash it. They just kind of fold. They're still supporting them, doing whatever. They're not doing any more models. They're all in on Indian. So everybody's down. Harley's down, but Polaris is apparently up by big numbers, driven number 1 by the Indian brand and number 2 by that trike bike or whatever that thing is. And when I saw the Indian thing, that got me thinking, because dude, there's a lot of guys, and this isn't politically correct to say that there's a lot of guys that don't want to buy the baggage of the Harley brand anymore.
Well, I tell you what, I know 2 different guys that have been Harley guys their entire life that have switched over to Indian. Look, Indian's got its faults. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of things with the with the new Harley engines that, in the warranties and just the service, and I mean, there's just,
Are they having engine issues again? I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. I had a guy who was telling me there's I forget what part it is. He said Harley makes it. It's made out of like a Teflon type plastic that has to be replaced every 10,000 miles, where Indian makes the part out of, rolled steel that's good for 50, 60,000 miles, just shit like that, Just everyone seems to think that basically the overall engine is better in the Indian than it is in the new Harley motors. So
see, I didn't even know
and that's
that.
and I'm not speaking from authority here. I'm just speaking what guys that have been lifelong Harley guys that have switched over to Indian have told me. Look, it is what it is. You like Harley, buy a Harley. If you like Indian, buy an Indian. I'll be honest with you. I just saw an ad for a bike that's coming out here in the United States in 2018 that I'm almost thinking about. I might buy one. It's a
Really?
Royal Enfield. Yeah.
Really? They're coming back?
Yeah, they're making a Royal Enfield, and I saw an ad for it, and I'm seriously, I probably won't, but it's just like, man, you know what? I like that bike.
I'm going to have to look that one up. I did not know. A lot of that nostalgia stuff's coming back. Retro guns, 100-year anniversary of World War I.
Yeah. This model was called the Himalayan, and I remember the model because Himalayan, but it's look up if you get a chance. Just Google Royal Enfield Himalayan, and it's man, it's a pretty cool bike.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a fresh start. It's a recognized brand. And you know what? If you're riding around on a Royal Enfield or you're riding around on an Indian, you don't necessarily have to buy into the whole top rocker, bottom rocker, drug dealing bullshit biker fucking meme.
No, you don't. But look, remember, we were looking at one, I think we were in Houston. It was one of those BMW motorcycles, and it's one of those all-terrain touring bikes.
Oh, I like those bags.
And it's like, they ride them all over, like, Africa, the Middle East, Europe. You can take them off-road, on-road. They're that quasi look.
Yeah, they sit real high. I like those bikes.
Yeah, well, the Himalayan is basically like the Royal Enfield version of that bike.
Is it made by BMW? Because BMW owns a lot of those British companies now.
You know what? I don't even know I don't know if Royal Enfield is Royal Enfield or if they're owned by someone. I'll be honest with you. I have no clue.
That's interesting.
But,
because just as a side note, I was in a British car earlier this week, real expensive high-end British car. And dude, God, this fucking car's so retarded. The electronics, the shit is so ass. I'm like, you guys can't still make shit right. I was trying to be nice and not say anything, but I was just like, I just don't even understand why that still is a problem for those people. So that's why when you're like, oh yeah, it could be like the Royal Enfield made by a German, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That could be better. You know what I'll do when I publish this podcast, I'll find some photographs of it and drop into the comment section on the blog, and then we can kind of look at it and compare notes and see what there is. So
I mean, and I don't know what the MSRP on this thing's going to end up being, but in the little blurb that I read, it's going to be like around $5,000 or $6,000. That's
cheap.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
there is no way. That bike's got to be made in like India. I mean, you can't even make that bike in Korea for that low price. I'm straight up. That bike's got to be made in Vietnam or India to be that cheap.
Well,
maybe that's why it says Himalayan on it.
Maybe.
It could be made in India.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Hey, do you remember?
I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. But, but like I said, this is, I don't remember what the,
what's the CC on this bike? I mean, is it a little bike or is it like a big bike? I mean, is it a 700cc bike or is it like 11, 12, 1500cc bike?
No. It's not, it's
can't be that big if it's kind of like.
This cold's kicking my butt. No, it is not. It's not like a big. It's not like a big road machine. It's not. It's. I wish I could think of the model of the BMW.
Yeah, I can picture the bike. It sits real high, so.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's see here. Hey, I want to change subjects here a little bit. I wanted to ask you about I want to switch over to Police Blotter. I thought this is the greatest police blotter thing that I've heard in a while, as far as what people can do to kind of to screw with each other. So, You ready for this one? This one's coming out of Texas.
Okay.
So this woman, she's married. And she finds out her husband, who she's married to, that's how that works, is apparently having sex with someone who he's not married to, which is kind of how that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So this woman, what she decides to do, she got arrested for this. She didn't show up at the woman's work. She didn't cyberstalk her. She didn't prank her. She didn't call the woman's husband or boyfriend or whatever, if she even has one. She didn't physically assault her. She didn't confront her. She didn't accost her. What she did is she got on Craigslist and posted a like, I'm a hooker. Here's my contact information for a free sex ad.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, fucking classy.
Nice.
I actually, to be honest with you, I kind of liked that one a little bit. I thought that was pretty funny. So I thought that was. I think we're going to end on that note. So the woman who called in her husband's girlfriend's personal info on Craig's. Yeah, she got hooked. Now she got hooked up for it. She's got a free ride to the county jail. But that's kind of how that works.
But, hey, A for effort.
A for effort. Okay, so, all right. Well, this wraps up episode 85 of the John1911 Podcast. If you want to see pictures of this Royal Enfield bike and some of the other stuff we talked about, go to the John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. It'll be in the comments section for this episode 85 on the blog. And everybody, thank you for your time. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.